This is the 13th International Podocyte Conference, and we're hosting it here at the University of Manchester.
So it's an hybrid meeting this time, which is the first of its kind.
Obviously in COVID times it's been really more difficult to see people face to face, but it's really nice to come to a live presentation and be able to have those discussions in person.
And we're connecting to the rest of the world through a virtual platform. And we've got over 420 registrations from people all over the world, from 27 different countries.
There's much greater audience for a meeting like this because people who wouldn't necessarily be able to take the time to come all the way to England, to have 3 or 4 days away from work, or the expense of travelling, can actually attend online.
Also in the day and age, getting as many people as possible is good because the more the better, and if some people are online then so be it, but because of the system we've got at the moment, it's very easy to ask questions and it's almost as if they're here in person.
It's quite a niche conference, and it's a single cell on a kidney in one organ of the body. So it's really interesting to see that there's this much research in the world focused on this one cell.
The kind of science that's being presented here will affect kidney patients all over the world in some way or the other.
Since Podocyte meeting was first established over 20 years ago now, it's really become clear that the podocyte is the sort of nerve centre of the glomerulus.
There's a big community of people interested in these kind of diseases because actually the glomerulus is the hub of most kidney diseases worldwide.
The podocyte is so interesting. It's a really unusual cell. So it's got a really unique architecture where it's got these foot processes, protrusions. So when it's covering the capillary, it forms this pattern. So all of the foot processes interdigitate.
We've known for decades now that these cells are really important in the kidney, and there are a number of kidney diseases that affect these cells.
I'm really interested in a disease called Alport Syndrome, where there are mutations in type 4 collagen chains, which lead to a pathology where there is hearing loss, sometimes eye abnormalities, and importantly the podocyte cell is affected, which leads to kidney dysfunction later in life.
One of the diseases that I'm looking into is FSGS, focal segmental glomerulosclerosis.
FSGS is a sort of histological appearance, so it's a pattern of injury in the kidney that's associated with protein in the urine and usually progressive kidney damage, and is an important contributor to kidney failure.
There's just such a big variety. We heard from a patient as well yesterday, so it was really good getting to see the research and the patient side of things.
It all comes under one umbrella term. At the end of the day, kidney disease branches off into different things, so I'm just a little small part of that, so it's good to recognise that you're not alone and that there's other people with different conditions.
We have patient visits about once a year, sometimes a bit more frequently, and it's a chance for us to show people what goes on in these labs. So we grow podocytes, what we call AB podocytes, which are human podocyte cell line. So this is isolated cells that you can basically grow in a plastic dish. At the moment we're inducing expression of collagen 4 alpha 4. So we've just got the first stage of that and we've received those cells. So we've got to then basically prove that it is actually working, that it is expressing that chain.
It's exciting to see the lab because you can actually see where the research happens. You don't get to see that part of the process. You get to see the researchers explaining what they've done, but it's good to have that hands-on experience, the practical side of it.
From a patient's perspective, just listening to how passionate people are about it and how everything they're putting into it from a patient's perspective is so important. And it'd be nice to have more patients here just to see what actually goes on behind the scenes.
I think it's really great to see a load of people working on something that helps my mum and helps my family, and It gives me a lot of closure about a lot of things that I can help in the future with my mum and make sure I know as much as possible.
The research itself is quite difficult to understand, but to know that it's happening is really encouraging.
I consider myself more of a morphologist, so seeing all of these talks about the physiology, the genetics and the clinical aspects of podocytes, it's really, it opens my eyes.
We might sit here and listen to what someone's doing and thinking, oh, we can do that, but in a different kidney disease or using a different model. So we can all learn from one another, really.
Everyone wants to be the one to come up with the cure for whatever disease they're studying, or at least provide data and results and new ideas that can lead someone else in the world to come up with a cure.
I think really industrious people in Manchester that have managed to pull this off as a hybrid meeting at a difficult time in human history. I hope that we can go back to having these face-to-face, but it's been great to focus down on this particular challenge within kidney disease.
Because I'm an adult nephrologist and because I am part of the Hereditary Kidney Disease Clinic, I treat patients with the disorders that I talk about at conferences. And I get to know them, their families. And so that really is one of the motivators for me to continue to do the research that we do and to attend these conferences.